I'm going to share with you tonight is nothing new, uh, probably to all of you or to any of you, but it's some reminders. And these are things that not necessarily I've done, but these are things that were done for me or to me while I was a pastor's wife. Uh, my husband pastored 3 churches, and during that time, the ladies in all 3 churches were just wonderful to me. They took good care of me. They saw to it that my needs were met, and they always made me a part of them. And so each time we left a church, I hated to say goodbye to the ladies in that church because they were just awfully good to me. I'm going to just give you some quick tips on what you can do for your pastor's wife. I think the most important thing you can do is to pray for her. And sometimes when we think about prayer, we just call her name in prayer and go on. But I want you to think about how you could pray for her spiritually, how you could pray for her emotionally, how you could pray for her physically and mentally and financially. And sometimes we don't think of all those areas of praying for her. And she may not need all of those areas every time you pray. But I think you need to ask the Lord, what do I need to pray about for her today? And as far as financial, you could pray that, Lord, just help meet their needs. If you want me to be the one to help meet their needs, I will, but Lord, financially meet their needs. Help what they have to go far enough. Help them to always have enough. Emotionally, pray that, I know this may sound a little odd, but pray that people don't hurt her feelings because that can happen and people don't mean to. And unfortunately, sometimes people do mean to. But pray that her feelings will be protected. Uh, Pray for her mentally. Sometimes she's just maybe tired physically, and that affects her mentally. And so pray that she'll be well-rounded in all of those areas. So pray for her. Pray for her strengths, but also pray for her weaknesses. All of us have what we call strengths and weaknesses. And so she needs prayer for both of those areas. Pray for her concerns. Her number one concerns are usually her husband and her children. But something I always liked for people to say they were praying for is if they said, we're praying for your folks. We know living away from them that sometimes they went through some physical things and some surgeries, and I wasn't able to be there. And my people would say, we're praying for your mom and dad. We're praying for your folks. We're praying for that surgery or the illness they're going through. So think of the things that concern her and let her know you're praying about those things. But 2 things that I would ask you to pray for is her coworkers and her neighbors. Pray that she would be a positive influence to her coworkers and her neighbors. Pray that she would be a witness in both areas and help to win people not only to the Lord, but also maybe to build up their church. So pray for your pastor's wife. Then love your pastor's wife. The best way you can love your pastor's wife is to show her grace. She's not perfect. There's not a pastor's wife around that is perfect. And there will be times that she might make a mistake. She might say the wrong thing. I can attest to that because I've done that many a time, or do the wrong thing, or she might not know exactly what to do. And so show your pastor's wife grace. All of us need it, and she will need it especially because she's dealing with a lot of people, and a lot of people are watching her. Be her friend, especially if you get a new pastor's wife. and she doesn't already have friends in the church, be her friend, because she is going to need a friend at some time during her pastorate. Don't expect her to tell you um, things that she can't tell. Don't expect her to be just your friend alone. She's going to have to be friends with other people in the church, but you be her friend. You step in and be a friend to her. Um, love her. Tell her you love her. Tell other people you love her. Brag on your pastor's wife. They love to know that they are loved by their congregation. And it is uplifting to me when somebody would say to me, your people sure do love you. That would encourage me even more to be a better pastor's wife. So tell her you love her, but tell others too. Speak highly of her. Um, find, as I said, those strengths that you're praying about, brag on those. Tell others what she does that uplifts you or what is encouraging to you. Tell how she is um, a good helpmeet to your pastor. And so tell her and speak highly of her. Show her. One of the ways that some of the ladies in previous pastorates would show me is when I would get to the church on Sunday morning, if I had an armful of things, they would hurry to lighten the load physically, but sometimes they would lighten the load spiritually. They would say, I know you have children's church today. So how about if I do this and this and this so you don't have to worry so you can do children's church? Or they would say, how about if I do children's church? We have guests today. You need to visit our guests, be with our guests, let the guests see you. So they found ways to lighten my load uh, in the church. And so look for ways that you can help her to lighten her load, but also look for ways to lighten her load during the week. You might cook a meal or you might DoorDash a meal to her and just find ways to lighten the load. One thing I do not for my pastor's wife right now, or it was not done for me, but we have two young pastors' wives who are very involved in our state youth camp. And our camp runs for 3 weeks. We have 3 different weeks. And these two pastors' wives give up their month to be at camp. And so I go, one of them has 3 kids, one has 4 kids, and I go out there, which is only about 10 minutes from my house, and get their laundry, bring it back to my house, do their laundry, and fold it. Now, I find that very therapeutic. I find that if I'm frustrated or I'm I'm needing a little therapy, that is the thing I love to do is to do laundry. Now, don't all of you send me your laundry. I can only do a few at a time. But that's a way you can also help. Just say, is there something I can do to help you to lighten your load? Uh, and when you love her, she would be glad to know that you also love her family. And in loving her family, don't criticize her husband to her. You have to remember she chose him to marry him, and to her, even though she knows he's not perfect, he's just about near perfect. So don't criticize him to her. And be careful in how you correct her children. I'm not saying you can't, but there is a kind way to correct her children and a kind way to approach her if you're having an issue with her child. Be very, that goes back to being gracious about how you handle situations that concern her and her family. I want to tell you that some of the most wonderful things that I ever received as gifts from our church people were not monetary gifts. Uh, one year, one of our churches gave me a big fruit jar, just a canning jar, a quart size, and in it were slips of paper folded nice and neat and stuffed down in on pretty paper, colorful paper. and they had decorated the top with flowers, and it was really pretty. And what it was a jar of encouragement. And so they would say, now, when you get down, open this jar, take out one of those notes and read it. It might be just a word of encouragement that they wanted to tell me what I meant to them. Sometimes it was a quote. Sometimes it was a funny quote. I love those on the days that I needed a good laugh, and I put my hand in there and it was a really silly quote. And it was like the Lord was saying, I knew what you needed today, and they knew you were going to need that today. And sometimes it was a scripture. And so you could do just something simple like that, just little notes stuffed in a jar, in a box, and give that to her to encourage her. Send her, used to we said send her cards or send her letters. Uh, Now we can say send her a text. Um, I have friends who still, I'm not their pastor's wife anymore, but if they see something in a store or a flea market, or if they're out on a vacation and they see something and it makes them think of me, they send me a picture. And that encourages me. That lets me know that relationship is still intact. They're still my friend. We still have an important relationship, important to them and important to me. So there's ways to reach out to her to encourage her. Buy her gifts. Know her likes and dislikes. Um, I had a friend who made the mistake of saying one time at a ladies' meeting that she loved chickens. And for about the next 3 years, the ladies in her church bought her chickens. She had more chickens than she knew what to do. She said, I had them everywhere. And she said, I finally came to the point where I had to tell them, no more chickens, no more chickens. I love them, but no more chickens. And so when she says she collects things or she really likes something, make sure that she really does want that, or whether or not she's had enough of those. Or maybe you can just find a card with that on it and send it that way. And that's something for her to keep. We think we always have to do something, or maybe not always think, but sometimes we think we have to do something big and grand. But just simple kindnesses is sometimes what the pastor's wife needs. And sometimes it's just a kind word. She just needs somebody to come and wrap their arm around her and say, I prayed for you this week. Or I was shopping and saw something that made me think of you. Or I wanted to share a word of scripture with you. Or can we have prayer? I want to pray for you and for your husband before he preaches today. There are so many simple ways to encourage your pastor's wife and to love your pastor's wife. But the best one is, to me, is to just take her to the Lord in prayer every day. And just ask the Lord, what does she need today? What need can I pray about today? And if you get close to your pastor's wife, and I think that's important, every woman needs to feel like she's a friend to the pastor's wife. And I will tell you this about my mother. My mother was a different kind of pastor's wife, because my dad was an Free Baptist evangelist, and then he would start churches and be there a couple of years and move on. And mother always went with him. And every time they left a place, she would say, I believe that's the best place we ever pastored. She said that every place they went. And we said, Mom, that can't be the best place. She said, well, it was the best place that we left this time. And but when she passed away, we cannot, my sisters can't even tell you how many women said, your mother was my best friend. Women from her previous churches, several of them would say, your mother was my best friend. And so Every woman in the church needs to be a friend to the pastor's wife. Every woman in the church needs to love the pastor's wife. And if you can pray for her, you can love her, you can speak highly of her to others, you can encourage her. And always remember her family too. Huh. My throat is so dry after all that excitement trying to get this fixed. Just a moment. Just as there are no perfect, um, there's no perfect people. And so there's no perfect pastor's wife. So one of our churches, when we got there, I was different than any other pastor's wife they had had. I don't know if that was good or bad. Um, Most of the pastors' wives of the people who were still in the church that had been through several had been fairly quiet wives. Years before me, they had had a pastor's wife who was quite, um, well, when I say her name, and I'm going to say her name, she was a very, just wonderful out there woman, and that was May Fry. That was Malcolm Fry's wife, and some of you probably knew Miss May. And she never met a stranger. But after that, most of their pastors' wives were quieter women. And so when I came, it was quite a shock, I think, to most of them. And one day, one lady said to me, and she was teasing, she assured me she was teasing, but she said, I was wondering, when is the real pastor's wife coming? And I said, well, she's not, because she's already here. I'm it. I'm all you got. That lady became one of my dearest friends, and the Lord she was my age, and the Lord has already called her home, and I miss her terribly. And she learned to love this pastor's wife. And so pastors' wives will be different. So love the one you have now with all that you are, and reach out for her, to her, do for her, encourage her, pray for her. I don't know if what I've shared helps you, but I hope it will. I now am a pastor's wife to the pastor's wives here in Arkansas. And these things I've told you to do for your pastor's wives, I do for the pastor's wives in my state. Every time they come to the state meeting, they get a gift, and it has a ministry little saying that goes with it, because I want them, when they get that little gift, every time they see that gift, I want them to know I'm praying for them. I send them cards, I send them text. Sometimes I call and say, the Lord brought you to mind. What do we need to pray for right now? And so I do for our pastors' wives the things I've just shared with you to do for your pastors' wives.